All right, I'm back with another analysis video. This time we're looking at Baker Boy's song Marryuna. It's from Unit 3. The theme is identities, and we're going to do, in this video, we're just going to do an overview of the song. So let's get stuck into it. The first thing we're going to do is look at some context and background information. Have I set this up? Oh, look at me with some, some in videos there. Look at me improving my production quality. This song is by, what are we saying? It's called Marryuna. In a video, Baker Boy explains that you sort of put a D into the Marryuna. Baker Boy, he is from the Yolngu people in Arnhem Land, Northern Territory sort of area. This is from 2017. It also features Yirimal, put a little picture down there. And the style is a bit of a combination of R&B, hip-hop, rap. It's got some reggae, perhaps ska, like SKA ska type of music, plus some traditional Aboriginal instruments like the didgeridoo and some percussion elements. So yeah, really unique sort of sound. And the title itself means to dance, or let's dance, or dance with no shame. That's sort of the translation of it. So that's sort of the background of the song. Let's get into some analysis. If we move along, we're going to start with looking at structure, arrangement, form. Now, just a quick note about that is structure, arrangement, form. They can all mean slightly different things depending on what type of music you're studying. So in classical music, it means something different to jazz, which means something to contemporary. So we're studying contemporary. So form for this song, we're going to say is song form. And song form means that it has a verse and a chorus. So we've got a verse and a chorus. But we've got lots of other sections, which we would then say is an arrangement of song form. Again, this works for contemporary music. It doesn't work for some of the other styles. And so what I mean by that is the arrangement would be intro, verse, chorus, tag, repeat, verse 2, chorus, tag. So that's the arrangement. Some interesting things about the arrangement is we've got the tag here, and the tag is essentially a dance break. And what I find interesting about that is that the meaning of the song, Marryuna, is then changing the form of the song. So does it make sense? So I just think that's so interesting that it changes the form of the song because you want to have a dance break. We've got kind of a breakdown here that I've called breakdown rather than bridge. The reason I've done that is because I don't think it contrasts enough to be a bridge. It has the same chords, same sort of melodies, and it's sort of played half time. So it's a breakdown rather than a bridge for me. And then we finish off with the chorus. All right, next, let's have a look at key. Now, I do these videos and I think, well, who cares about key? It's never that interesting. But then every time I do it, it's more interesting than I thought. And again, it happens here. So I've got 4 flats over here. That makes us in either A flat major or F minor. Obviously, the chords here are giving us a big hint that it's probably in F minor. This melody starts up here high and then sort of dives down, and it would end on an F here, or missed. But because we don't want any resolution, it goes back up to the 5th. And so we're definitely in the key of F minor. But what is interesting about this is that what type of minor are we in? So for example, what I mean by that is over here, we don't have a 5 chord, we have a 5 chord, like a lowercase 5, like a minor 5. And so that means we're in F natural minor or F Aeolian. And that is important because it changes the sound from maybe that sort of an older classical-ish sound to a more modern sound. So if I play this chord progression, but if it's a dominant 5, it gives you that real classical. And so it's really a modern sound. So chain smokers, for example, use that chord progression all the time where they're using a minor 5. So and it also fits with the melody. It means that you can have an E flat in the melody, or the flattened 7th, or the lowered 7th in the melody, as opposed to the raised 7th. So the key is F minor, F natural minor, F Aeolian. Probably if you put F minor, it probably is wrong. You probably have to be more specific. All right, let's move on. Looking at a meter here quickly. So we're in 4/4 We're in simple quadruple, and the BPM or the metronome marking is 108, and that's a good tempo for R&B and hip hop. And just to note that it's kind of a slower tempo, but everything is in 16ths. So it's slow, but things are moving fast, if that makes sense. That's Metre. Let's have a little look at the instrumentation. Obviously, lead vocals is pretty obvious. Gang vocals here is an interesting little thing. That means a small choir that sings in unison. It can be often in octave unison, like that. Can't see that, forget about octave unison. And it's an important part of the song because it's like it's an invitation to being a community. So a community of people coming together to dance as such. So it's important that that gang vocals idea is in there as opposed to just one singer. We've got a really quiet piano in the background. There's some rhythm guitar here. It's not really lead guitar, just got two separate rhythm guitars. One's pan left, one's pan right. Didgeridoo. It's a tunable didgeridoo through this chorus, so the pitch of the didgeridoo is changing. So either that's been done with a computer or that's actually different didgeridoos or a tunable didgeridoo. Something to think about there. Got electric bass, 4-string bass. I put this FX track in here because the riser is quite important. It sort of sounds like a reverse cymbal in there, like a cymbal swell, sorry. And that effect is in there quite a lot. And then we have a percussion section to finish it out with a cowbell, shaker and drum set. When it's performed live, it's performed with a track and live drums. So yeah, one other thing just to remember on this is that this is my sort of arrangement and transcription. The original of this, the recording of this I should say, might be hundreds of tracks all overdubbed and cut and woven together. And then it sort of sounds like these instruments, and that's my interpretation of what that sounds like. All right, moving on. Let's have a look at the melody here. So first off, if we quickly analysed it, we've got F. What am I doing? F, and then B flat, and then A flat. Then we've got a C, and we've got an E flat. And that makes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have a perfect minor pentatonic scale, and the rest of the melody only ever uses a minor pentatonic scale. And what's interesting about this melody is that you would be tempted to think that that's a 4-bar phrase. Is that 4 bars? So sorry, that's a 4-bar phrase. There to there. But you can see here this part and this part are different. So really the melody, if I got rid of all that, is actually an 8-bar phrase that goes right out here. So the chorus is one phrase that's 8 bars long. And that's very unusual. So really interesting. I like it. Moving on. We're just having a little bit of a look at the rhythm here. And so there's really fun things here, obviously, in the rhythm. So this offbeat pattern here is a really classic, we would say reggae pattern, but actually it's a little faster song for a reggae. So it'd probably be a ska pattern. So it sounds like this. And I guess it's ska, S-K-A, because reggae would be slower than that, right? So, you know, it's a really strict offbeat pattern, and that makes really interesting to play as well. And then down here, you've got this bass line that really is coming straight out of sort of the funk sort of genre. It's got heaps of syncopation and offbeat. What have we got here? Funk. So, sound like I swore then, didn't I? I didn't. I said funk. All right, that's that part. And then if we add that in, I think, into the rest of it, so we've now got the rest of the rhythm section there. And I think importantly, the rhythm section is playing on the beat. So So this part here is super syncopated, and so it's important that this part down here is actually laying down the pulse of where the things are. So you can see it's a really sort of normal shaker pattern, saying here's the pattern, and then it's a pretty strict, you know, what's it, 2 and 4 on the snare. The kick drum's moving around a bit, which is giving it some energy, which is great, but it's really laying down the pulse so that the offbeats of the guitar and the bass have got something to sit against. All right, moving on to the unit theme, which is identity. Now, the meaning of a song doesn't have to come through lyrics. It can come through any way you like. But when we have lyrics, it means we get a bit of an idea of what the writer wanted the meaning to be. And so what I've done here is I've sort of analysed some of the repeated lines in the lyrics. And I've said, oh, they're obviously the meaning and the value and the identities that are coming through this piece and that want to come through this piece. And then I've asked myself, well, how does the music reflect those values? So I've chosen some like the Yolnu, which is a connection to place. And how does the music connect to place? And I would say obviously the instrumentation, such as the didgeridoo, connects it to a certain place. But you know, also the type of drum beat connects it to a different place. So the drum beat might connect you to sort of a Harlem kind of sound. The reggae offbeat guitar part here, that might connect you to island life and Jamaican and relaxing and coming together. So the different musical elements are bringing out the meaning of you know, the lyrics. Some of the other things I put down here, you know, I think the texture here, the monophonic texture of the verses where everybody just plays F for all the time, really builds attention and helps you to give that feeling of motivation and fight and get up and go and do something. And you know, coming together is another thing, that's another identity. And I think something like the way that the gang vocals are used really is inviting people to come together. You know, there's lots of people singing, come together, come with us, come along with us. But you could also argue things like the pentatonic melody is really accessible, and that allows lots of people to join in. If it's a really complicated chromatic jazz melody, well, you can't really join in. Even the harmony being a nice, simple harmony allows people to come along and join in with the music. So obviously, there's a lot of things that help us get this value of dancing across as well. So that's how I sort of view that side of things. There'll be another video explaining that in more detail. And lastly, what type of questions might we get? So we've got some easy questions, just restating some stuff like these ones up here, outline the key form, that kind of stuff. I think these ones here are more fun, where you have to actually do some work. We have to draw the melody. So drawing the melody, I think, is quite difficult because an interesting one, because you would sort of say the melody for the rap and hip hop section is just a flat line, and then the melody for the whole chorus just sort of slowly goes up, and then the melody slowly goes down, which is quite an unusual shape of a melodic contour for a pop song. This one here, it changes in accompaniment from verse to chorus. I actually love this because often we talk about texture and it's hard to apply, but in this scenario we have a monophonic texture in the verse where the didgeridoo, the bass and the vocals are all just playing one note. So super monophonic, it's like a drone almost. And then the chorus breaks into polyphony, where we got a whole bunch of different melodies going different directions. Suddenly the bass is playing a melody, the gang vocals is playing a different melody, the vocals are doing a different melody. We've got all these melodies and we've got this tiny little rhythmic part played by the guitar. So there's almost no harmony. There's a tiny bit of harmony, do you know what I mean? So that's that sort of question. And the bottom ones, the hard ones, are, you know, really trying to dive into how the meaning of the lyrics is represented or reflected in the meaning of the music. And I think they're probably the best questions you can ask, but they're obviously also the most difficult. And I really, you know, I talked about them in that slide before. Okay, I hope this has been really helpful for you, and I'll see you soon.